There we go. Hey, everybody. I'm solo streaming this. I'm rejiggering this setup. There is no intro stream. There is no, oh my gosh, I can turn my light on. Boink. There you go. There's no introspection. There's no intro anything. But there is rye whiskey. Hello. Warm salutations and greetings as men are speaking. My name is Alex. Today we're going to talk about something that's kind of a hot button topic, but you know what? I think the only group that might be like somewhat offended would be the Roman Catholics, but I think they actually agree on a lot of this stuff, right? Hence the reformations that they're doing right now, right? So let's stay with an open mind. I'm not here to insult anybody, but I'm here to discuss spiritualism. So why is spiritualism actually important to the average person? Well, spiritualism kind of exists on this layer that's not rational. I think we can all agree with that. It's some non-rational thing. You can't do a scientific you can't like Ghostbusters, like Egon, do a study on spirituality. You know what I mean? Okay. We can't ghost bust. So it's an irrational thing. We can't really study it. That's why it's called metaphysics. Now, there are still truths in there, of course. Obviously, if you try to be some Reddit atheist and think that science and my heckin' science and studies are everything, you're just going to end up like friggin' Destiny or any other Reddit atheist, right? So we don't want to end up like that. That's obviously not a good life. We're going to talk about spiritualism. Yeah. Benign numbers thinks it's an op. I think if it is an op, right? All these Roman Catholics being jerks on Twitter. If it is an op, there's nothing in the actual Catholic structure that stops them from doing that. And I had a conversation with Benign about that, and essentially he was like, "Well, none of my priests will censure these people or can censure these people. What do you want me to do about it?" It's like, well, if there's nothing that can be done about it, then it's uncontrolled. Yeah, I've known Catholics that act like those annoying Catholics in real life, and there's no limiting for them. We'll talk about that. It's about legitimacy, okay? It's about legitimacy, and spiritualism always needs some kind of legitimacy, except for what I think is the true spiritualism. I'm a Christian supremacist, as all Christians should be. Christ is the light and the way, and the only way to heaven. Let's see. I'm going to go and share my presentation here. I'll just share the whole freaking screen. There we go. It's easier for like massive boomers like me. There we go. All right. And it's up. All right. So we're going to talk about third world spiritualism. Right now, if you ever noticed on Twitter, there's a lot of people that you kind of just want to call them brownoids or something. But they just have this magical bullshit thinking. The reason why I said that spiritualism is a non-rational way of understanding things that are true is because it extends beyond just spirits, right? It extends to just the foundational truth of who a person is or what America is. Like, what is America is not a rational scientific question. It's actually a spiritual question. And you have to engage it as a spiritual thing. I don't want America to be a third world spiritual nation. I mean, I don't think anybody else here does either. So, right, let's get on with it. All right. So preface, spirituality, as I said, a non-rational layer that conveys truth. I'm going to talk about elites. Elites are those who've elevated rights and privileges above the commoner. The commoner is kind of the lowest of the low inside of this power structure. No elevated power or privilege, right? I'm sounding all a leftist because leftists actually have a pretty good description of power. Leftists are acolytes of the religion of power. So they have actually some pretty good language around it. I mean, if there's a whole religion around asparagus, they'd probably have some pretty good asparagus recipes, right? Well, a religion built entirely around power has some pretty good power recipes. So I'm going to sound like a leftist because the leftists have a pretty decent grip on what is power. I will also give a caveat to that. The leftists of recent years are retarded, and they do not have a good grasp on power. Okay, so all this stuff is like from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. The leftists back then were pretty good. The leftists now are screaming banshees, and they're ruining everything. I think the most frustrated people in this world have got to be old school leftists who are watching this stupidity. That's pretty good rye. That's pretty good. I'm drinking Jim Beam rye tonight. Prayers. Okay. Power structure is the social organization which houses all this power. I'm going to say that most faiths have some aspects of third worldism. This is not to denigrate any faiths necessarily. If you feel denigrated, there might be a good reason for that. Have an argument, put in the comments. All right. This is learn from this. Don't be sensitive. This is men are speaking. The whole point of this channel is that you're not supposed to be a sensitive bitch. We're not a bunch of girls who are whinging. Okay. If you have a problem with something I say, you better formulate an argument, a rational argument, because that's how people interact, is through rationality. This entire presentation you're going to find is a argument against interacting with other people on a spiritual level, right? To be a mediator of spirituality. We have to engage with each other rationally. So if you have an argument, put it in the chat. If I address your argument, shut the fuck up. Like, if I address your argument, either agree to disagree, or I will. This is mostly just for Hadley Doodley. If you continue bitching in chat, I'm gonna just ban you. All right, I'm gonna lay that out right now. Okay, I don't. You cannot like whinge at me and then change my mind. This is not girls are whinging. This is men are speaking. Formulate an argument, one chat, make your point, make it good. If I address it, then I'm moving on. I do like arguments. I just don't like bitching and moaning. All right, I'm not your mom. All right, so show notes here. Thesis. Third world spiritualism is there to wield spiritual power over the individual, right? So what third world spiritualism does is it takes this irrational description of something that's true, it pulls it away from the individual, and then uses it to control the individual. That happens. After thinking about this for a while, that is the most universal aspect of third world spirituality. All right. Now, there are some rules. There are some tools. The rules and tools are the use of anointed, purified, enlightened ones. Okay. Your betters, the elites, right? Unknowable truths that must be adhered to. It's going to make more sense when I get into that example. I'm going to go through a slide that describes all of these. Esotericism, transactionalism, emotive virtues. This one fucks people really good. This is actually the most difficult to spot, and it's the most controversial to point out. I'm going to give you a preview. U.S. veterans are emotively virtuous. It's like, oh, I'm a veteran. You think about combat veteran, all that stuff. It's like, wow, he's a veteran. It's so great. He must be he's a good guy. That's what you're thinking. That's what you're feeling. Oh, he's a veteran. Thank you for your service. The guy could have just been the worst fucking veteran. He's there just disability, welfare queen, totally useless, totally selfish, total piece of shit. The fact that he's a veteran actually doesn't mean anything. It's an emotive virtue. It's an emotive virtue. It gets your emotions going, and it conveys itself as a virtue. It's not really a virtue. Emotionally, it feels like one. Same thing with like being a mother, right? Okay. Oh, I'm a mother. Oh, that's wonderful. Good for you. You're a mother. I was like, yeah, George Benet Ramsey was a mother too. Okay. All right. It's not necessarily, it's something that's kind of neutral that sounds really good. It makes your emotions go, oh, because you've been conditioned to feel a certain way. And then it's like, oh, this must be good. It's actually just entirely this is where all of your cultural reinforcement of what is virtuous ends up, right? Okay. Next one is blurring the material and the spiritual. Okay. This is where your Jesus toast comes in. It's like this toast is blessed because Jesus's face appeared in the toast. Yeah. This is the blending of the imbuing of material things with spiritual power. That's very third world, by the way. Like, this is my magic stick. All right. These are the two last ones. Okay. Unallowed thoughts in speech and compelled thoughts in speech. Like, you will say 3 Hail Marys. You will say Christ is King. I had my way with Nick Fuentes. You've probably seen that with this Catholic guys, the online e-Catholics. They will like make you say Christ is King or you're a bad person. All right. And then you're not allowed to say certain other things. Right. If I say that America is a creedal nation, they'll all lose their minds. It's wrong think. The idea that there's wrong think. There's settled think, right? There's think that we've like shown to be wrong. Like, if someone says, hey, I'm a communist, I'm going to say like, well, you're a fucking idiot. But I'm still owed to give him a rational explanation for why that's stupid. And I also do not get to just attack him or cancel him over being a communist, just per se, right? You got to actually do stuff. I mean, if I was going to like restrict any social group, like, I don't know, the people who like Digimon, those dudes ain't right. That's wrong thing. If you like Digimon over Pokemon, that's wrong thing. You're gone. Good to the gulags with you. Examples of third world religions, American cults. We're going to have some fun talking about that. Witch doctors. Some pretty basic stuff. I probably should have done that one first. Silicon Valley actually is a third world religion. They have a third world religion in Silicon Valley. Roman Catholicism, I'm going to talk about that one because it's impossible not to when you're talking about this stuff. Like my spoiler alert, my opinion is that Roman Catholicism in its current form is pretty third worldish. We'll see if you agree. And then wokeism / communism, which Silicon Valley and wokeism / communism very similar, but they're different enough that it bears repeating. Also, I apologize if my voice is cracking. I am getting over some kind of flu or something. I don't know what it is. Something like that. Anyway, and what a lot of people describe as word Christianity is when you worship the word. It's like, no, you're worshiping Christ by, or you're worshiping God by following Christ's word, is what I would describe it as. But why word Christianity isn't third world, and it isn't. It's America is. If you're going to pick one country to not be third world, it would be the United States of America, and the United States of America is largely Protestant. Or like non-Catholic. I don't even like the label Protestant. I'm not protesting the Catholic Church. Like when I put the shopping cart away at the grocery store, I'm not protesting those who don't. Right? I'm doing what I think is right. I'm not doing it in protest of evil. I'm doing or protest of someone else who does it a different way. I'm just doing it because I think I'm supposed to. So I actually kind of consider myself just a free Christian. All right. So let's talk about the anointed. Pretty easy. It's whenever you have credentialed elites. I'm thinking like Anthony Fauci. I am the science. I'm thinking the Pharisees, obviously. I'm thinking my priests, my pope, anybody who doesn't feel like they have to engage with me rationally and can use authority over me to just say like what is true and what isn't true, right? And truth itself is a spiritual question. Right? That's why the Enlightenment occurred in the Christian Enlightenment. Like, that's why the Enlightenment for the sciences occurred in the Christian context because they were in the search for truth. Right? Truth is a spiritual thing. Atheists are not going to find the truth. Atheists tend to find whatever is most powerful or useful. They see words as useful eventually. They might sort of believe in truth, but that's because they're spiritually on, like as a Ben Shapiro would say, like on third base morally. In other words, they're propped up by this Christian moral system, and then they'll say the Christian moral thing, and it's not actually it's not obvious to me that an atheist, someone who doesn't believe in God, really has to care about the truth because everything is just what it is. Sort of thing. And whatever I can get with my words that's what I'm going to do. That's what an atheist would believe. All right. Unless they were already propped up by Christianity growing up in a Christian society. All right. Here's the important parts. Why is someone anointed by blood? Right. You'll see this with the Euro pagans is that they'll immediately, if you have this sort of blood heritage organized society where it's like, well, I'm very German and this is my German home and I'm German. Immediately, they're going to start organizing themselves into class-based system based on their blood and parentage. Always happens. And it's never stable. And it's obviously not going to be very high performing, right? As soon as another society doesn't do that, it'll be higher performing. That's why this whole pagan blood ethnic society is going to fall apart. Are going to contend that Catholics are, I believe that as long as you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and the rock upon which your faith will be built, then you're fine. That's what a Christian is. If you add a bunch of bullshit, that's on you. If you want to do extra bullshit, that's fine. If you want to believe that Jesus came to Japan to farm garlic and rice, that's cool. I don't think you're not a Christian. I just think you're doing stuff that you don't have to do. However, I do think that if you wield spiritual authority, that's against Christ's word. I do think that, which is why I don't like the Catholic Church. I don't mind Catholics. I just don't like the Catholic Church because they violate Matthew 23 verses 8 through 12. There's only one teacher, rabbi, only one authority. But we'll get to there. All right, blood parentage. This is like the Sunni versus a Shia of Islam parentage of like who is the descendants, who rules the Muslims? Is it someone who's of Muhammad's parentage or like birth line or not? Passing rituals. Rituals can be a lot of things. It could also be exams. So if you like want to be a Chinese Mandarin, you have to pass the exams if you want to be a Chinese. Yeah, same thing, right? Now, the Mandarins are not considered holier, so they're outside of this discussion, right? Well, I suppose they could argue they're anointed, but I don't think it's like that much that they're anointed. It's more credentialed, but credentialed is like soft anointed. It's not spiritual power. It's just societal respect. And by selection of other elites, as in you're in the club. You have been chosen by the current elites to join the elites. All right. So the anointed also intercede for the commoner and the higher truth, whatever the higher truth may be. Right. In other words, this is your priest class. Intercede for you. You are not qualified to engage with the truth. You can't handle the truth. Therefore, you need to have one of us fancy lads in the hats. You need the hat man. You have to summon the hat man. Spiritual powers and authority over truth are relegated to them. So in other words, spiritual powers, all right? So the ability to do certain things that are spiritual, such as forgiving sins, such as blessings, stuff, authority, so the ability to rewrite words or wield spiritual authority to say what is true and what isn't true. By the way, all this stuff is also true of communists. All right, it's not just me digging on the Catholics. Wokeism does all. If you look at stuff through this lens, all these power structures that deign to tell you what the truth is always have to follow these structures. All right. All right, and it's relegated to them. Only certain people, in other words, only certain people have super secret superpowers, right? Which is gay. All right, next one. Unknown truths. I did not develop this slide. I apologize. But I put a picture of the Quran here. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Quran is canonically in Arabic. Sometimes it's translated, but it's recited in Arabic. The prayers are in Arabic. Most Muslims don't know Arabic. They're literally praying words. They don't know what the meaning of it is. Unknown truths. All right. They don't know the actual rules. Their imam has to tell them. Their imam can tell them whatever the fuck the imam wants to tell them because they can't read it. Does that sound familiar to something else too? I think some people in England got set on fire for trying to solve this problem of a different sort, but a similar problem. Right. On we go. Esotericism. This is one you're going to see a lot with the pagan right. They love, and this is all about status, right? Esotericism is about status. And I write here that it is knowledge that is codified purposefully or non-purposefully to be convoluted. By the way, the chemistry department at your university does this exact same shit because chemistry is esoteric as fuck. All right, it's described by physicists as stamp collecting. It's like you're just learning facts. There's no through line here where you can describe this in an equation. You are just learning what this symbol means, what it does, what that symbol means, what it does, how they interact, and everything is on a case-by-case basis that you have to know just by what virtue of that thing is, what it does. It is used. It is incomprehensible, and you have to just study, and it's actually used as a gateway to know if you're in power. It's also used as a way of knowing who is in the tribe. Scientology does this a lot. Scientology is essentially an esoteric religion that is gated by your donation level. Right? So, philosophy is this all? Let me see if I can pick up that Dugan quote from today. Let me just pull up the little x.com. All right, pull up Dugan, the Dugster. Oh, that's hilarious. Alexander A.G. Dugan. Okay. All right, first off, they use difficult words. So you're going to see words that could. A lot of people do this. A lot of intellectuals do this. Well, they will use words that you have to look into to know what they mean. Unless you're versed in their whatever school of thought they are, you can't understand it. Often, this is called jargon. Often, these can be replaced with other words that would do just as well, right? Let's see if Dugan starts name dropping a bunch of philosophers. I just wanted to pull that up. I purposefully do not get super versed in all these different philosophy schools because first off, I never see them actually become useful. Second off, if they are useful, they can be summarized in different words. I don't see it. Dang it. Oh, is this one? No, it's not it. Yeah, he's basically Dugan's like arguing that Europeans aren't white. I think white is a dumb identity, but it's a useful reduction. I never attacked Michael Millerman. I don't know who that is. White Anglos. Good Lord, he's been going on. It's like every hour. Oh my gosh. Yeah, here it is. Yeah. Be Eurasian, whatever that is. Become Greek once more. Enough with the West. It is nothing but failure. New beginning. Study Heidegger. Study Guénon. Stop being what you are. It is disgusting. That's so funny. It's really funny. Yeah, study this, and stop being disgusting. That's literally anointed talk. You must know this esoteric knowledge to become anointed and risen. You must study your Heidegger. You must study your whatever the fuck. Yeah, that's why I don't much care. I don't much care for philosophy past a certain point. Like if in the study, I'm a physicist and an engineer, and in physics and engineering, if you can't explain something to your grandma, then you don't know what it is. So we drive towards simplicity. But it seems like the explanations in philosophy just stay esoteric forever. And they stay impossible to know without tremendous amounts of study and jargon. Oh, what is the Hegelian thing? Someone said like, oh, this seems very Hegelian. And I asked like, what does that mean? And then they put it in plain English what they meant. And it was, all right, why didn't you just say that in the first place? Why the fuck are you using like name dropping? Yeah, it's entirely prestige language. All right. Transactionalism. I didn't put a picture of a witch doctor. The closest thing I had is this Aztec, but it's the same thing of like, if I give to God, there's no logic here, by the way. There's no logic. It's just emotions. If I give, then I should get, right? You'll see this with the worship of university education. It's like, I sacrificed all of that and I didn't get a good job. I was like, well, that's transactionalism. You didn't actually make any logical through line to getting a good job. You just emotionally said, if I sacrifice a whole bunch of time and money, then I should be able to get what I want. You made a bargain. You made a Faustian bargain. Sorry. Like you literally communed with the devil, which is the university system. And you got what you got. Like, what do you want me to tell you? This is often used to fund the anointed class. It doesn't have to. But this transactionalism is essentially it's all about expectation. It's okay to do a sacrifice it's not okay on other grounds, but on this grounds, I'm not saying it, on this particular argument, I'm not saying that sacrifice is bad. What I'm saying is that the expectation you're going to get something in return is the part that makes it transactional. Like let me give you like a quick like example prayer. Okay. It's not a real prayer. Okay. So God, don't listen. I'll say like, I'm just going to say, sup God, if you see it within your power to give me a piano, I'd really appreciate it. I really love a piano. Thank you very much. By God. Okay. So that's my one prayer. Okay. My second prayer is, what's up, God? If I donate $500, I would like a piano. Please give me I want a piano, please. $500. I'll give it to a charity of your choosing for the piano, please. Thank you. Bye. Now I made that. By God. I made that seem like really crass because I don't want to insult the actual thing of prayer, right? But you can tell that those two prayers are very different. One of them is me saying, if it's in your will. The second one, I'm essentially conjuring God. I'm trying to invoke. And this is how demons work, right? Through Christian and Jewish mythology, is that demons will strike these kind of deals with you. They'll say like, I'll give you power if you give me this kind of deal. Whereas God, if you're praying to God, you're essentially asking and saying if it's in your will. So it's still up to God. There's no power transacted when you're interacting in a first world religion. There's no transaction of power. It's entirely, I'm giving it all to you, and this is what I'd like, but I'm not giving you any power. The sacrifice is a way of the transaction on your part, the sacrifice you might be giving, is a way of you making them feel obliged to give you the thing, right? It's a manipulative tactic, actually. All right. This is the one that's going to piss everybody off. Emotive virtues. Self-flagellation in the top left. Okay. So self-flagellation. Oh, shit. I almost dropped my whiskey. Self-flagellation, even if it's done in private, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything. You're not actually helping anybody. And even if you're helping, by the way, even if you're helping somebody, see I have the collection plate down here? You give some money to a homeless dude, doesn't mean shit. It really doesn't mean anything. It's just emotive virtues. Did God tell you to do that? Maybe in your prayers he said to do it. There's specific, in Christian word religion, you're not supposed to tell people you do charity. And if you do, it doesn't count. There's a reason for that. You're not supposed to do it for attention. You're not trying to emote. Again, earlier I said like, oh, wow, this guy's a veteran. All of a sudden you think, thank you for your service. Must be a good guy. Caleb Hammer is helping show a lot of veterans are just absolute parasites in the system. Being a veteran in and of itself is not a virtue. Doing things that are extreme in terms of suffering, like mummifying yourself like a Buddhist monk, like evoking suffering and sacrifice. This is all these things are suffering and sacrifice. Here's people doing this like on your knees march to Saint Guadalupe or whatever the fuck. I couldn't care less. And I picked a picture that was pretty evocative of third world. I mean, this looks, let me see if I can zoom in. I don't mean to be mean to these people, but I'm going to be a little mean to these people. This is some third world shit. Notice how, like in the first world American stuff, you might find out, oh man, I didn't know that Grandpa was in the war. I had no idea Grandpa was in the war. And he was at Iwo Jima. Oh my gosh, he never said anything about. That's first world right there. It's like, I didn't tell you nothing about what I did, about what I suffered through. You know, the self-flagellation, again, it's like some offering to God of like, if I beat myself, I'll purify myself. If I punish myself, then I will get. It's like, okay, yeah, flagellating is fine, I guess. Maybe if you're trying to like, every time I drink when I'm not supposed to drink, I will bite my tongue. But it's not a virtue. Like self-punishment is not a virtue. Becoming a mummy, a living mummy, which is what this guy is. That guy might be alive, by the way. They do look like that. I think this one's dead, but they do look pretty much like that when they're mummifying themselves. Like this, sacrificing money. It's just the same sort of bullshit that that Moses saw when he came down from the mountain. He saw exactly this shit. They're trying to make deals. They're trying to win virtue. This emotive virtue stuff. Here, my personal belief is that anybody else's virtue is none of my business, and I'm really not interested. This is not some Hallmark movie where I need to be inspired by someone else's actions. Like, no, I will speak directly to Christ. I do not need, okay, good for you. You gave money to some good cause. I don't. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to think if it was like a World War II veteran, I'd probably thank them for their service. If they went to Fallujah, I'm like, I don't understand how Fallujah has to do with my freedom. So I would say I appreciate what you went through, or at least I'd like to. All right, next one. Material and spiritual overlap. This is the easiest one. You got magic items. You got magical items. I don't even know what the fuck this is. It's a skeleton lady in a pink dress. I'm sure it means something to somebody, but not to me. Here's a statue that's crying blood. The South Americans love this shit, by the way. They love South Americans are the most third worldish you'll ever see. It's them and the Buddhists. Anyways, yeah, here's your holy water. Here's your bone. Here's your magic bone. I'm okay with stuff being in a museum, but it has no spiritual. It's like if you gave me Christ dead, but if Christ left behind like his shroud of Turin, I was like, this is not. I'll put it in a museum. That's awesome. Wow, what a piece of history. I like it. It's not gonna fucking heal my canker sores. That's some third world thinking. It's not a magical blanket. It's a blanket marked with the shadow of your savior, but it's not your savior. I mean, dude, if Jesus took a shit in a chamber pot and I got the chamber pot, it's not a magical chamber. Whatever. Fuck it. Objects that are made sacred and imbued with spiritual power. Sacred and imbued with spiritual power. Okay. Objects can be made holy with rituals. All right. So I'm going to do a ritual and make this thing holy. I can make things holy because I have the power of the elites, the anointed. Where did I put it? Yeah. I have the anointed who can convey spiritual power and have authority to do so over my magical items and do this magic stuff, right? That's what, right? And before, by the way, like the magic stuff is about power. That's why it's magical. It has a power to it, right? If it's a thing that is a worshiping tool of request, like I'm now requesting like, dear God, please give me the piano. Not dear God, I will give you this in exchange for a piano. You know what I'm saying? If it's like, dear God, please give it to me. I don't have a problem with Catholic rosaries that much unless they like actually think it gives them magical powers, which like fucking Jack Posobiec, it gives them magical powers to dodge criticism until they find out that he's like pulling pictures off of eBay or something. And that's actually the real power. Like in a rational sense, forget the spirituality. A lot of this stuff is there to help avoid criticism. Like if I have the magical whatnot of wherever at my church, right, and my followers are really amped up about it, they're going to protect my church, and I'm the keeper of the magical whatnot of wherever. Blood and bloodlines can be considered holy. So thinking someone has holy blood, fucking Da Vinci Code, all of this bullshit. Actions, rituals, and offering can confer spiritual powers to objects. I think I kind of repeated that a little bit, so I apologize. But yes, like things can make things holy. Stuff is just, in my opinion, stuff is just stuff. Like Jesus was an immaculate conception. It was not of this world. Everything else that you see is of this world and is therefore rooted in sin, which is a separation from God. And therefore, whatever. I'm going to preach to the choir, but let's get to the fun part. Wrong think, punished. I could have put someone who's a heretic out here too, but I felt I was being too mean to the Catholic Church. So I decided to put the Chinese communist struggle session here instead. It is still a cone-shaped hat. So if you like cone-shaped hats, there it is. If you want to, what's that misery game? I forget what it's called. There's a game where you have your character is in some sort of penitent. I think they're referred to as the penitent. It's evocative of all this stuff. But yes, wrong think is punished. You say the wrong thing, you are punished. Anybody on X who calls you a heretic is a fucking third world. By the way, benign. This is why I don't think is like it should be insulting to you or anything or your faith, because you're a first world Catholic. A lot of fucking Catholics though are fucking third worlders. Third worlders shit. Fucking Virgin Mary appears in my toast nonsense. Calling everybody heretics. I think Vatican II was, according to Luna when we talked, I think Vatican II was designed to get rid of a lot of this shit. That's why when I first started the stream, it was like, I think a lot of actual Catholics probably agree with us, some of these assessments. Obviously, I don't find what they find to be holy. So I probably step on some toes and say some things I don't like. I mean, I've also insulted a lot of wokeists and communists too on this, I hope. Again, this isn't meant to offend. This is just the pattern I've noticed. Yeah, so you're considered anti-holy. That's different. That doesn't mean you're not holy, because most people are not holy, right? Anti-holy means that you are a net negative. If you are around somebody, you're going to make them dirty. All right, this is a anti-racist, right? Like it's not enough to call them unholy. You must consider them anti-holy. Heretical, right? They're saying things that are outside of what's allowed. Therefore, they must be excommunicated and punished. Taboo. Right? These are the things we don't talk about because it would cause too much contention. Blasphemous. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory, or otherwise mark you as dirty, right? Mark you as dirty. I think I have problems with denomination. I'm a non-denominational Christian. I don't, as I said before at the beginning of this, is like if you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and the rock upon which you build your church, and he is actually affirmed as the rock upon which your church is built. I think it's in Ephesians. I think it's letter Paul. So he explicitly says that Jesus Christ is the rock. Not to make anyone terribly upset, but if you believe in that, then I think you're a Christian. If some dude next to me thinks that communion is actually transmuting into the flesh and blood of Christ, I'm not going to not want to worship with him, right? Like, why the fuck would I? That's the denomination means division, right? It means to disunify over some problem. It's like, maybe just don't worry about it. It's like, what are you worrying about what the other guy next to you thinks in his own head? Again, like the wrong thing. I don't understand it. I don't understand. Like, if someone didn't quite get the Holy Trinity concept and they thought that Jesus and God were separate entities, which I'm on the fence on, right? I'm more or less think that I think they're both aspects of God. And once you become with God, you are kind of one with God. Kind of like how a marital couple is one. Like they are of one sort of flesh when they are united. Anyways, if someone doesn't get that, I'm not going to throw them out. If you start saying stuff that's actually anti-Christian, genuinely, not genuinely counterproductive to the gospel of Christ, then I would maybe have a problem with it. But if he keeps his mouth shut, I don't care. That's what I'm saying. Is a lot of denominations are divided because of the thought inside the guy's head next to you, not because of what's actually coming out of his mouth. Anyways, that's just dumb to me. Anyway, social repercussions for things that are not allowed, right? Do you get social repercussions? You used to get pretty hefty social repercussions. I think one of the reasons why the Catholic Church had to stop really dropping the hammer on heretics and stuff was because of the Reformation. They just couldn't do that. They lost the monopoly on Christendom at that point. And once a business loses monopoly, they have to start being a little bit more civil. It just is the way it is. All right. Enforced think. Okay, so stuff that you have to do. Obviously, I ran out of time here. I was just stuffing my face with spaghetti. Phrases to show you belong. Recitations. I could say catechisms, but that's like too specific. I would say rote memorization. Staying up to date with a moving target. So I don't know if you guys know this, but the red book would actually get updates. And to know if you're a good communist, you had to get the update and you had to memorize it as fast as possible. Because if you're the last one to memorize the update, well, then you're a bad communist. And you know what happens to bad communists? They get the cone hat. So bad communists, guess they get the cone hat. And you know how we say the left eats its own? It's not the left that eats its own. It's the third worlders that eat their own. You notice this is happening on the pagan right at the moment right now too. Like they're eating their own. You see fracturing because they've lost the coherence. That's one of the reasons why Alexander Dugin was so useful to the pagan right, was because he was the philosopher that would sort of say something and then it would become disseminated through your Aaron McIntyres, your academic agents, and to a lesser extent, your Nick Fuenteses. And then fuel the movement, but now they don't actually have coherency and they're losing their shit on X. They're going after anybody they can. I've actually never seen them this spastic and desperate before, which is good. But yes, third worldists eat their own. Because a third worldist power structure is maintained through strict enforcement, and wrongthink is not to be tolerated. And you must, and it's not enough to not say things that are wrong. You must also say things that are approved of and correct. We have to make sure. In other words, there's constant checks on your acceptance. This is another reason I don't like denominational Christianity. It's like you divide into all these denominations because of like small disagreements over what essentially is in your head. Everyone agrees with the basic tenet of Christianity that Jesus Christ is the guy in charge, right? But we're all dividing over it. And I think it's actually the truth wins out better if you don't divide but debate. But whatever, that's another talk for another time. It's very third worldist to do so. And you'll actually find that I think most denominations in Christianity end up sort of looking very similar. Like, what is an evangelical? I don't know. Is there an evangelical church? Or is it just Baptists that get up and get excited? You know, is it a bunch of different denominations of Christianity that just gets really excited and goes out and evangelizes? Is an evangelical Christian a Christian that goes outside and touches grass? Is that a grass touching Christian? Maybe. All right, let's talk about some examples. Let's talk some shit on God. I'm going to talk massive shit. American cults. And on the left here, I have the different categories, and we're going to fill in as we go what they have, right? Anointed one. So cult leader / dear leader is absolutely the anointed one. He may have lieutenants, may have a power structure. This could be the Manson cult. It could be the what's the Comet cult that has the website? I do not remember what they're called. Cult leaders update. Cult leaders reveal visions. So this is the biggest way for a bullshit religion. Sorry, I'm going to say some religions are bullshit. The biggest way a bullshit religion can make you adhere to things that you don't actually know is to start revealing new truths. Oh, Heaven's Gate. That's right. Yep. Heaven's Gate. Yep. Manson, Heaven's Gate, which is wild shit. Esotericism. Can be rooted in Eastern or ancient theologies. And the reason why they do that, notice that it's not like Christian. There's not a lot of like crazy cults that are just sort of New Testament Christians. First off, because Jesus does not tolerate that shit. And he has stuff in there specifically to stop this. We'll talk about that. But because everybody already knows what Christianity is. If you're getting your truths revealed to you by some esoteric Eastern Zoroastrian bullshit, no one knows what the hell that is. So no one can challenge you on it. You just make stuff up. That's the thing about esotericism is it allows you a lot of leeway to bullshit. All right, transactionalism. This is going to bug me because these are not the same size. Whatever. Transactional. A lot of times cult members join for some benefit, right? Scientology, they join so they can get parts in Hollywood. So some promised benefit. A lot of them join because they want to get their lives together. That's actually not guaranteed by Christ necessarily. Some people join Christianity and they just get crucified. That's how it goes sometimes. Emotive virtues like sacrifice. Yeah. So a lot of these cults will have some sort of ritualistic initiation or feat to accomplish, whether that's killing a bunch of Hollywood stars or whatever they did in Heaven's Gate to prove that they really belong there. But there's usually stuff to show that you have the virtues to belong there by doing rituals. So I don't know if there's a lot of American, it's weird. American cults don't usually have a lot of holy objects, but they might have a holy place. So holy ritual sites. That might be a thing, like the vortexes and ley lines. Again, it's a little bit esoteric and it's a little bit bullshit, which allows serve as holy places. It allows the leader to gain control. Again, as I said, third world spiritualism is about getting control of the common worshiper. It's about wielding a truth. And a lot of times these cults and these religions, they have a kernel of truth to them. And they just leverage that kernel of truth as a anchor to the spiritual world that they can then gate off and essentially charge you for admission. It's pretty scummy. Unallowed thought. Obviously, you cannot deviate from dear leader. This also, a cult is a cult. The same thing happens with the was it Onsen Rishi cult in Japan? The guys that nerve gas the subways. Must recite songs and chanting. Just say that, right? There's stuff you have to do to continue to prove that you belong. And one of the main things about this is a legitimate first world religion might have some of this stuff, but it's not compelled, right? Like I don't have to know, like the local Baptist church I go to, almost everybody knows all the lyrics to all the hymns because they've grown up with it. I don't, but nobody looks at me like I'm a jerk or I don't belong there because I'm asking like, which hymn number are we on? I don't know this one, or I don't know the words. They're kind of like totally fine with it. It's a flat structure. We'll talk about that when we get to the word church. All right, witch doctors. Obviously anointed, like it's bloodline, parental line, profession. I could put in scare quotes of healers and ritualers. I don't even know if that's not a word, but there it is. These guys, witch doctors, just don't talk. They literally they don't talk to the normal people. They don't speak on their rituals to anyone except what it does. All right, by the way, I chose witch doctor for a reason. Stay on here. There's a reason why I chose witch doctor. Okay, esotericism uses language, mumblings, and procedures that make no sense to the layman. I'm going to just say layman. Commoner, layman, use those interchangeably. Emotive virtues, special dress, and instruments, right? So I've got the fancy clothes, therefore I must be smart. It's like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He's got his neck high. Kind of makes you trust him. I don't know why. Sort of thing. All right, blurring material. All right, has a spirit, has a magic, medicines and staff, right? He's got the magic staff. Cannot speak. Layman cannot interrupt the mumbo jumbo. And you must recite and participate in the ritual. All right. Okay. By the way, if you guys have ideas, feel free to put in the chat. I put witch doctor in here because this also just describes a regular doctor. This just describes Anthony Fauci. It's not really like parental line, right? Stuff, profession, but it is a profession of healers. So his elite stuff is conferred to him through what I think medical residency is just a hazing ritual, by the way. It doesn't make any fucking sense for doctors to stay awake for days on end and do their, no other profession does that. Okay. This is not some special forces shit. We have to prove that they can do that. Now, the reason why they did that was because the doctor at Johns Hopkins used to do cocaine and everyone thought it was awesome that he'd just be awake for days on end. It's like, no, he's on coke. God's sake. I am the science is very much, I don't speak on my rituals to you. It's a secret, family secret. Like, if of my esoteric order of healing magicians, we will speak of it and you will trust us. And by the way, anybody who says wrong think like mRNA vaccines are not effective or this is an experimental vaccine, they'll be thrown out, right? Obviously, I'd be thrown out. But don't worry, all of us credentialed people here can tell you what's true and what's not, right? Medical jargon absolutely is used to confuse people. What is a vaccine? An mRNA is not actually a vaccine. It's a conflation of words. An mRNA is essentially a spike protein factory they put in your arm, which is fucking crazy. Why not just put the spike protein in your arm? Why put the factory? Whatever. I'm just some fucking dude. It's like, what was that meme of like, hey, listen, don't let your Google search for, replace my years of medical knowledge, sort of thing. It's like, well, your little layman Google search just doesn't understand the secret magic of my rituals. As a doctor. Yeah. And obviously, like, we're becoming more first world for not trusting doctors. The dress and instruments, essentially the fancy clothes and all that stuff, the fancy titles, it's all there to like make them show that they've made the sacrifices. They went through residency, all this blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. You get the idea. All right. Silicon Valley is funny as fuck. All right, so anointed, purified, enlightened ones, those who participate in the latest retreat, leadership, qualification, or startup success. All right, that's how you become an enlightened, anointed one. You'll be, if you can make it onto TED. To a TED Talk. If you're a TED Talker, you are an anointed one. Everyone's going to sit their asses down while you just ramble about nonsense on your TED Talk because you've made some amazing discovery and you're the anointed one now. If you have the podcast was kind of started this way as well. That's the reason why they didn't like Joe Rogan very much, is because he's just some guy. He wasn't really a Silicon Valley elite, but the podcast was the Silicon Valley elites, authoritative megaphone. All right. Unnoble truths that must be adhered to. This one, not so much in Silicon Valley. There are unnoble truths. It's very decentralized. So the merit of Silicon Valley is that not so many unknowable truths. Unknowable truths. The reason why unknowable truths are so important to third world religions is because it means you can't challenge it, because you don't know what the prophet or whoever it is going to say next. Or you don't know like what the guts are going to reveal when they go to the Oracle of Delphi and have it spell something out, right? The unknown gives the anointed some power. The anointed don't really have a lot of power. That is this unknowable stuff. Silicon Valley is too rational of a religion to really have that. I might be wrong. If you guys can think of anything, put it in the chat. I always appreciate it. Esotericism, absolutely esoteric. In Silicon Valley, there's business jargon up the wazoo for esoteric language. Yeah, there's tons of business jargon, and you will be picked out as an outsider fast. Yeah, absolutely. And this bled through the corporate world. So Silicon Valley has been the anointed ones of the entire corporate America for the past 20 years, I think. So a lot of that's why wokeism affecting Silicon Valley was such a big deal for corporate America all throughout America, right? One of the implications of these third world spiritual structures is that they're really easy to co-opt. Okay, this is why I don't like them. They're extremely easy to co-opt. They're extremely easy for things like, and you'll see that wokeism has affected this stuff, right? Like wokeism has affected, I'll just go back to my earlier slide. Like wokeism has affected, I would say American culture too small time. Wokeism has affected our medical industry. Absolutely. It's affected Silicon Valley, which is our corporate culture. It has affected our religious culture. Roman Catholicism is not the only one, but any church of sizable influence or strength gets affected by it. Every seminary school gets affected by it. So when you start and of course wokeism is the case. So when one of these gets sick, all the other ones start to get sick. It just spreads throughout. It's kind of my conclusion here. All right. So business jargon. All right. Emotive virtues. Virtues of overwork as a sacrifice. Underdeveloped life balance is absolutely one of those sacrifices. These what makes you virtuous in the eyes of Silicon Valley? Disruption makes you seem like you're knowledgeable. It makes you seem like you're savvy. It makes you seem like you have like the kind of virtues that Silicon Valley wants is it wants people who are clever, rule breakers, roguish, that sort of thing. So when Silicon Valley goes out of control, that ends up financially blowing a hole in America, which is what they did. And a lot of banks had to close because of all the crazy risky ventures. And 10,000 people get laid off from Meta. It seems like every 6 months. They're going to be digging in graves and using necromancers to bring back dead bodies so they can lay them off later, eventually. Anyways, yeah. So disruption, things that make you seem clever and you're special, savvy, in the know. Those sort of secondary things like overworking, even being a cheat, even being a savvy cheat. I built my company up to a $100 million valuation. I knew it wasn't worth that much, but I sold it, got the money, and I left. I'm so savvy. I'm a savvy cheat. That's considered a emotive virtue. It's like, oh, wow, this guy can really make money out of nothing, regardless of where it goes. Anyways, blurring material and spiritual. Not so much for Silicon Valley. Again, as I said before, Silicon Valley is way more rational than most sort of spiritual groups. Their spirituality is more of the kind of spirituality that makes rationality bend the truth to try and enslave the truth rather than them delving deep into the annals of truth. The annals of truth. That sounds like a pretty funny name for something. Again, I'm sick, so my voice is kind of screwed up. I sound like that one eco-terrorist lady from Star Trek DS9 who stranded her people on a planet. You look it up. Anyways, unallowed thoughts and speech, anti-woke, anti-progressive speech gets you ostracized. Absolutely. And that tyranny went through the American workplace for quite a while. To the point where I actually, I would have lost the job had I already not been resigning, but I pretty much said I don't want to work with anybody who does this pronoun crap. And that was considered unacceptable speech. It's like, all right, I'm already out the door anyway, so it doesn't matter to me, but I was happy to be gone. And recitation of DEI trainings and company values. Yeah, companies actually do this quite a bit. Silicon Valley is more, it's not really a truth-seeking organization, which is why it's more rational and not so spiritual. However, it does use what it has to get control of people. So it's very much the utility of. So even something that's not very spiritual is, in essence, using spirituality to meet its worldly ends. Roman Catholicism, obviously there's a priest class, right? Priest class that intercedes for you. Noble truths. This one's not as true as it used to be. This was like pre-Bible being translated. Yeah, absolutely. Everything in Latin, that was definitely it. Elites knew what was going on because the elites knew Latin. Commoners did not. All right, and there's reasons for it, I'm sure, but it still gets them on here. Unknown truths that must be adhered to. It's the same thing as the people who read the Quran that don't actually know how to read Arabic, having no idea what they're signing up for. I think it was kind of funny. There's a video of Sneeko after he had become Muslim, and he didn't know all the stuff he wasn't allowed to do. And you see him kind of like, oh man, I think I made a mistake. Could I leave the religion? And he says, no, we'll kill you. He was like, oh no, dog. It's like, yeah, you didn't know. You couldn't read the book first. All right. Esotericism. There is a lot of extra biblical material. Whether it's like Saint Aquinas or something Thomas, I don't know. There's a lot of fucking material. And I think the esotericism of the Catholic Church is why there's so many denominations, because a lot of them just had a bugaboo about one of their esoteric tomes, and they just couldn't take it. Like, I don't know why anyone would be a Calvinist. I don't know why and I don't mean that like Calvinism is unreasonable, although I do think it is. But it's like, why would you think about that? Like that's getting there's a ton of writing on the metaphysics of God. I'm more of I was told what I'm like a good soldier in God's army. It's like I was told what I was supposed to do, and that's it. And I don't need to know why or the truths thereof. I just don't care. I'm just my job is to dig this hole. I'm going to dig the hell out of that hole, but I couldn't care less about anything else. I'm not called to care about all the secrets of heaven, so I just don't. Sort of, because it seems like it would just start a fight. Yeah, that's all right. Exactly. They're predetermined to be a Calvinist. Exactly. Yeah, that's funny. And now, by the way, a lot of this stuff is going to be in the past tense. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is like Vatican has reformed itself to not do this stuff. I don't think people should get credit for stuff that's way in the past, nor do I think people should get blame. I think a generation removed from it is enough to just alleviate you of both credit and blame. I'm not going to, when Englishmen bring up like, oh, the Americans in 1812, I was like, I wasn't there. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about 18. Oh yeah, you burned down the White House. That's pretty badass. Cool. Okay. What does that have to do with now? All right. You want the credit. If you take the credit, you got to also take the blame. I don't want anybody to take either, because it's fucking old shit. It's old shit, man. Like, I'm not a plunger. I don't pull up old shit. Anyways. But yeah, I will say, like, describing the historical Catholic Church just as an educational exercise here. There's a lot of extra biblical material, lots of rituals, lots of catechisms, lots of stuff to know to show you are in the know. There's a lot of esoteric knowledge. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of esoteric knowledge. Transactionalism, not so much. Transactions used to be more of a thing. I don't think any church should have. I don't think any human being on this planet has the ability to forgive your sins. Right? So I have a problem with the whole forgiveness thing in general. Sure, the apostles may have done it. I don't remember any Bible verses of them forgiving sins specifically. I think they always appealed to heaven when they did so. Like when somebody heals somebody, it's an appeal to heaven. He's like, no, in a way, no apostle healed anybody. It was always God, right? Now, if God wants to intercede, if God wants to actually pop in there and do the thing, that's fine. But like, to say that God is doing that now is essentially telling God what he's doing, which I don't think you can do. God will let you know if he showed up. Anyways, indulgences, obviously that's the big one. It's a common thing to bring up because it was pretty egregious. As Benign and Luna brought up, not every church was doing it. Things were not fully centralized. However, that any section of the church had the power to do it is pretty crazy. Yeah, even if I'm like have an illness and I'm dying, I don't actually ask God to heal me. I tell God I would really like to be healed, please, if you wouldn't mind. But your will be done, right? It's more like I always start with your will be done. Maybe it's time to die. Blurring of material, and yeah, so imbuement of relics / holy objects and holy land. Right, I don't have the when the veil of the tabernacle blew open, earthly sins. John 20:23. You got to give me the text on that one. But and the apostles might have. I'm not an apostle. And I also don't believe in apostolic succession at all. Again, there's another third world aspect is succession. Unless it's explicitly said there will be a succession. So anyways, unallowed thoughts and speech. Yeah, there used to be excommunications on heresy. Now they just let anybody be as heretical as they fucking want. And that's actually not good either. Like there's just no standards. So they used to throw out like Martin Luther, but they're not going to throw out Joe Biden. And I was like, oh well, okay, all right, okay. And the compelled thoughts of speech, not so much. Just infrequent rituals. In the past, were there any? I don't know. It would probably, again, it's probably regional. Benign, feel free to correct me. It's probably regional, depending on what they want. I mean, the whole pointy hat shit was very Spanish Catholic Church, which is the Spanish Catholic Church actually explains a lot of the problems with the South American Catholic Church, in my opinion, of like just the most third worldy gewgaw shit I've ever seen in my life. I saw somebody like crawling to a cathedral in Europe. I was like, oh, look, I'm crawling on my whatever. Like, it's so painful. I'm going through all this pain. I was like, all right, I was just a jackass. Like, Christ made his ultimate sacrifice. I don't think you need to sacrifice more. I don't think you're ever called to do such a thing unless God has specifically called you to do it. But like, God's not going to like call you to go into the Burger King like deep fry section and start slapping patties on your back and like burning yourself. It's like, it just makes about as much fucking sense. Like, usually there's a purpose to your suffering. Anyways. All right, so enough of the Catholic. The problem with the Catholic Church is mostly just seems to be like lack of forced enforcement of what is first world, but they're trying to work on that, I guess. But there's going to be like a fundamental ass whooping that I think it's going to have to happen through the church. You have to undeclare capybaras as fish and shit like that, which is an exercise of spiritual authority, by the way. Spiritual meaning a irrational way of getting to the truth, right? Irrational way of getting truth, access to truth. So when you start saying that this is fact, Earth orbits the sun, or sun orbits the Earth, whatever the case may be. Like, unless you have a rational way of backing that up, it's a spiritual statement. It's an exercise of spiritual authority. All right. Absolutely anointed, purified ones are. All right, so now we're on wokeism / communism. The anointed, purified, and light ones are victims. That's the main one. Victims. All right. Unknowable truths that must be adhered to. My truth. Absolutely. It just makes shit up all day. You can just make up Black history. Absolutely. What was the famous thing from Howling Mutant? A Black woman invented the telescope. Now, you may have arguments against that and even some evidence to show, but let me ask you, is it worth losing your job? A Black woman invented the telescope. Exactly. Yeah. Esotericism. The esotericism is mostly in academia, academic speech, and double truths. So again, esotericism is a way of showing status and rank through language and knowledge. So the way that you can show status and rank through language and knowledge is knowing what these secret meanings of words like democracy actually mean. Right? That doesn't mean the same thing, as Tim Pool pointed out several times. Democracy doesn't mean the same thing to a wokist or a communist as it does to everybody else. Because to them, they don't think it's truly democracy until all socioeconomic conditions are made equal. So they say democracy, they actually mean communism, because they don't think you can have a true democracy unless everyone's on equal footing. Okay. Transactionalism. This one is transactionalism and wokeism and communism is usually just straight up repatriation. Oh, not repatriation. That's not a wrong word. Appropriation. Appropriation. Oh my gosh, I can't spell appropriation of means and I'm just going to call it goods. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be very fancy with it, but like means of production is what I mean by that. So basically taking the stuff that you got because of privilege, and let me say ways to balance privilege. So they pretty much pray to the God of privilege and ask, what can they take from somebody? Right? This is all to get, this is all reparations. When we steal stuff in a riot, it's because this is reparations. This is my transaction with the spirit. It's having like a god. It's like having a god of war that says, this is mine because I took it. It's my right by conquest, is essentially what they're saying. All right, emotive virtues. Obviously, we said victimhood, right? Victimhood, acknowledgements. Like so this emotive virtues, think of it as like stuff that you can do and say and be that make you virtuous, but don't actually require any sort of virtue on your part. Acknowledges victimhood. Everything about communism and wokeism is centered around victimhood. Restorative justice. Yeah, essentially, it's a religion that worships victims. Unallowed thoughts and speech. Anything harmful. Anything harmful is not allowed. Anything harmful, anything counter-revolutionary. Any inconvenient questions. Yeah, because the truth here is so flimsy, they don't allow hardly any speech, which is why they tried to control all public squares of speech, whether it's a university or whether it's Twitter, back when it was Twitter, or halls of government, corporate landscapes. Wokeism pretty much could not allow any challengers anywhere. And as soon as they had a few challengers, it all started falling apart. It was that fragile. Which is why, by the way, that's why Aaron McIntyre is totally wrong. Like, he's trying to replicate leftism and wokeism, but for the right. I was like, no, leftism, wokeism fell apart under its own weight. Absolutely could not maintain itself. Same thing with communism, right? It's completely insane. So anyways, and the compelled speech, of course, are the acknowledgements. Again, acknowledgements, recitations of blame, self-flagellation, loss of status and money. Yeah, you pretty much are just getting robbed and being ashamed of having enough money to rob from. Right? Okay. All right. So now we're going to go on to, so what is a first world spirituality? Essentially, a first world spirituality. First world spirituality. I'm just going to go ahead and grab this, copy paste it over. And I'm going to change the layout on this slide. I don't know why I'm looking at that screen. This screen's actually what I need to look at. There we go. Instead of this, does this. Okay. Everyone is equal before God. There we go. That's a good start. If you're not everyone equal before God, you're a third world religion, as far as I'm concerned. No anointed ones. All truths are transparent and traceable. So traceability. This leads to that, leads to this, leads to that, leads to this, leads to that, right? It's like, okay, I can understand this. Everything is in plain English. This is another thing I see atheists usually say is like, well, the Bible contradicts itself. I usually ask like, okay, what parts? I was like, no, those are two just different events where there's a different outcome. It's just life. But they'll say like, well, the New Testament's complicated and confuses people. Like, Jesus Christ is actually really straightforward. You don't. I could sit there with a Bible and like a little workbook and kind of work through it with somebody in like an afternoon, like over some coffee. It's not difficult. Everything he says is really plain spoken. The most confusing part he'll use is he'll have parables. that are just longer analogies that he goes into depth with, but they're not like esoteric parables or esoteric analogies. They're pretty easy to understand, right? They'll make you think. It's different. There's a difference between something that makes you think for a while and something that you don't understand. I guess what I'm saying is like something that makes you think has layers to it, but it's not impenetrable. And you can also just have discussions with it. Everything's in plain language and you can discuss it. There you go. Everything. So transactionalism, everything is God's will. And we have no power, and we have no power to affect it. Now, this is also another reason why it's like the power of prayer stuff gets really risky to me. I didn't put this in. I was going to put that snake church in here. Fuck. Okay. I'm just going to grab the snake church picture really quick from my other screen here. Snake church revival. Oh, there's a snake church near me. That's funny as hell. There we go. Yeah. That's funny as hell. All right. I'm just going to put them on a different slide. Boink. Sure. And back to my window. All right. Thanks. As I boomer my way through this. There we go. Snake. I'm gonna flip back to Snake Church every once in a while. Okay. As much as shit as I give the Catholics, I hate Snake Church so much more. But I'll get to it. Everything is God's will. We have no power to affect it. The power of prayer stuff is kind of a trap. It's a mind trap for some people because they think like, well, if we get more people to pray, then God will be more likely to intercede on it. It's like, that's not how it works. We're not summoning. It's not like if I can get 10,000, it's not a spirit bomb from fucking Dragon Ball Z. Okay. If God doesn't want to do it, he's not going to do it. Making a lot of requests, that's fine. Sure. God may do it or not. It doesn't, whether, and also let's get a little bit Calvinist. It's like maybe God has a will to do it. Maybe he doesn't have a will to do it. It's predetermined. Maybe he's going to, instead of being predetermined, he's going to see what you all say. That's again another secret of heaven. I'm not going to know that. I'll go ask God when I go see him after I'm dead. Until then, like the reason why everybody prays is actually for everybody's sake. It's so that you feel somewhat of this is what I think, rationally speaking. It's so that you feel some level of investment in each other's well-being. That's why you pray for somebody. Because God is going to do what God's going to do. And maybe he'll change his mind based on what you say, and maybe he won't. Maybe he hasn't made up his mind. He's seeing what you have to do. It is written, actually, that God doesn't have the power to intervene in your life until you've prayed for it. That is true. However, that doesn't mean that there's any difference, though, if there's a number of people that pray for it. It's not like, oh, yeah, sorry, brother. It's not like a fucking, like God is not a GoFundMe. It's like, oh, we didn't reach our prayer giving goals, so Ted's dying of cancer. It's not how it works. That's third world snake church. That's snake church shit. All right, snake church. Snake church. Look at look on everybody's face. This is kind of amazing. Fucking snake church. All right. We have no power to affect it. Only request. So, and what I'm saying is the power of the whole prayer trap is, are your prayers some sort of conjuring, or are you just making a humble request? Again, the piano thing is like, please God, if you see in your will to give me a piano, I'd appreciate it. Not, please God, I'm going to like sacrifice 500 goats to get that piano. That's making a deal. That's making a conjuring. That's not how that's very third world. All right. And I think that's the biggest trap. I don't like prayer lists either. It just feels very impersonal. If someone wants me to pray for them, I wish they would just talk to me, like make it a personal thing. Like fucking prayer list, Jesus, might as well make it a chain letter, right? It's like, this doesn't feel right. Come talk to me. Appeal to me as person, right? If you want my prayers. If my prayers mean that much to you, you think talking to me would mean a little bit something too. Anyway, I'm going to go on a rant. I always found prayer lists just a way for really lazy old people that didn't want to actually meet anybody to also feel like they were getting, I'm going to be mean, makes these lazy old people that don't actually want to socialize or get to know anybody or get involved in their church feel like they're doing something, all right, even when they're not, all right, except for praying. Now, praying is not nothing, but I'm like, we're not told to just pray, all right, we got other stuff we got to do. Show some skin in the game. Anyways. All right. Blurring of material. Emotive virtues. The emotive virtues. All virtues are to be humbly hidden. Yeah, pretty much. You're not supposed to be virtuous. You're not supposed to show your virtues and wear them like the Technicolor dream coat. Like, we're not here to show off. No showing off. No showing off. The left hand shall not know what the right hand is doing. Unallowed thoughts and speech. I mean, there's always stuff that's not allowed. So unallowed is kind of like too soft of a language, I think, actually. So maybe I made a mistake with this, but it's like, this is apocryphal. This is untolerated, blasphemous. This one is, they will correct you, not condemn you. Right? Even Christ's instructions on how to deal with people who are unrepentant sinners, who are causing others to sin, real problems in the church, is you're supposed to talk to them privately, say, hey, do you want to work on this? Then it's to intercede with a couple. I keep using the word intercede. I don't actually know what it means. Make sure I know. I mean, I usually know what stuff means, right? But now I'm not so sure. I'm using it a lot, and I better check. To intervene, to act between parties. Oh gosh, yeah, I kind of got that right. To view and reconcile differences, to make intercession, to beg from behalf of. Okay, yeah. So not really intercede, but intercept. Like, you're supposed to go in there with a witness. Second warning is you go in there with a witness and you talk with the person and say, like, listen, me and Bob are telling you to stop drinking, and watching that Gundam in your apartment so loud, right? That's a sin. Or the anti-Gundam church. Sorry. We're all watching other animes like Death Note or something. I don't know. This is a Junji Ito house, all right? This is a Junji Ito house. And if you ain't Junji Ito, then you're getting the hell out. Now, he's doing some sort of sin. And the third time you warn them is you warn them in front of the church, and then they're ejected. Not condemned. They just can't go to that church anymore. Like, you didn't condemn them to hell. Like, the church has no ability to condemn them to hell in this case. Now, this person might go to hell because they have no church anymore. But you're not doing the actual condemnation. Like, we're correcting you, maybe ejecting you. Not condemning you. No scarlet letter. That's what I'm saying. Like, no scarlet letter. Compelled thoughts and speech. Only the kernel of spiritual truth, upon which all truth, all further spiritual truths are built. So the only thing that you really compel in church, if you're a Christian, is that you are a follower of Christ, who is your Lord, Savior, the Son of God, conceived immaculately, born without sin, sacrificed for your salvation, and he is your Lord and Savior and your one rabbi, right? He's your one teacher. So after that, it's like, okay, well, he is all those things. So what I'm going to pay attention to is, well, you're not going to pay attention to the teachings of Jesus. That makes sense, right? Okay. So it follows along that now you're a New Testament guy if you are a Christian. Makes sense? There's no other, there's not supposed to be a lot of creep. And this is why that's why the denominational thing kind of sucks in my mind, because what it is you've created compelled thoughts and speech. It's like, if you don't believe in this, or if you think this about the Eucharist, or if you think this about baptism, you got to go. I'm like, well, that seems unnecessary. It's unnecessary to split our church because we have some mild disagreements. It's like, I'd probably be considered a Baptist because I don't believe in infant baptism. I don't think infant baptism is bad. Like, you're not doing anything to, I think if you got in the Jordan River and someone prayed over you and you weren't really there, like, consciously for it, what's the harm? Like, we're not condemned. There's no real harm in infant baptism. It's just sort of, to me, it's just sort of needless. That's what I think. I wouldn't get up and storm out of the church. I have my own opinion on it. Sure. Now the Catholic Church says, like, well, the Bible doesn't say you can't do it. I was like, well, that's not a good logic to go with, but okay, let's just say that you're going to live inside of it didn't say we can't do it region. I'm not going to like storm out of the place. I also don't think that you've done anything to that child, really. I mean, I think if I was, okay, if I'm a grown ass man and I got roofied, okay, and they put a snorkel on me so I don't drown, and they just baptized me against my will, I don't think anything's going to happen. I mean, is the spirit going to clean me off? Do I get cleaned? Does anything happen? I don't know. I don't think so. That's my opinion, man. That's another secret of heaven. I guess if you're trying to like be safer than sorry, I'm like, okay, that's fine if you want to be more safe than sorry. But infant baptism is not enough to like make me make my own church. I just chill with the Baptists because they're the most aligned with me on all this stuff. Right? I'm very simple when it comes to my Christianity. And I'll also say, like, for me, my Christianity has survived multiple generations in enemy territory near the Muslims and has maintained its ability to create good families. So I'm looking at the fruits of it and I'm thinking I'm right. Doesn't mean everyone else is wrong. That's the problem with it. It's like the denominational Christians are like, well, I'm right and therefore you're all wrong. It's like, is it really that fundamental? I don't think so. For just listen, you know, real prayer. I've had real prayers where I like start by saying, well, listen, I know I'm retarded. I don't know shit. It's like, honestly, that's the whole truth of it. You know, forgive me if I'm stupid and wrong. But I guess no one's allowed to be wrong. Everyone has to be perfectly right and then write tomes, fighting each other and attacking each other and all this bullshit about stuff that really, it's like, I need to, like, there's no referee. The referee is going to return someday. Right now, it's just like, I might have a yellow card. I might not. We're going to disagree on it. But, you know, our team is still winning. We're still 10-0 against Satan. Let's keep it up. No reason to split the team up. Yeah, I'm completely fucking, we're totally retarded. Yeah, now we're retarded and saved. We are God's most beloved retard soldiers. I mean, the thing is, we kind of are retards because we kind of are a little bit retarded. And the reason why we're retarded is because in heaven, God made us to be worshipers and gardeners. We're here to work in the dirt. We're dirt people. We're little dirt gods. We're little dirt gods. If you're not presented right here, it's like, that's a hell of a way. That'd be so fucking funny. I would love it if someone, just for funs and giggles, tried to stretch the word of God as much as they could and still stay within it and see what kind of weird church you could make. It's like, this is not, we're not being serious. We're just doing this as a thought experiment. I'm thinking you could probably come up with some nonsense. We could have a good laugh at it. Like, it's actually like you have to go to the river. I mean, you could just straight up go to the River Jordan. That's the only place where you're allowed to get baptized. Just only place. If it's not River Jordan, it doesn't fucking count. Just another schism. Boom, schism happening. So now it's like there's a war in Jordan and these Christians are like rushing to go up to the waters, dunk, and then get back on the Huey to get out. It's like, come on now. Or it's like someone makes a misunderstanding. A lot of misunderstandings happen. Listen, like the Bible wasn't translated to most people's language. Still not translated to every language now, I'm sure. Well, maybe it is. But there's only so many languages. But anyways, I mean, it's not. What is it? Translated into click language? Anyways, the people make mistakes. I don't think a lot of these mistakes really matter that much. Like, we're just a little retarded. Okay, being an idiot is not a sin, actually. Being wrong isn't a sin either. I think you're just wrong. Like, if Jesus showed up and told you to straighten out, would you straighten out? I think you're going to be okay then. If you're like arguing with Jesus, you're like a real Calvinist, like just arguing with Jesus. He's just there like, Sarah, are you serious? Are you fucking me right now? I don't know why Jesus is Slavic there. So I'm not ready for, the world isn't ready for Slavic Jesus. Just he's just like Russian dancing down from it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't think this stuff matters that much. That's why I don't sweat it. I don't sweat it too much. I don't like it's the thing is, okay, let's say that there's an object that was holy. Let's go back here. I want to do an argument. Let's say that holy water is in fact holy. Okay, the problem I have is that the patois Jesus, oh gosh, patois Jesus, I'm not ready for Jamaican Jesus would be slapping everybody upside the head. So it's such a yeah. So all right, let's say this holy water is in fact holy. It is 100% holy. The problem is that people, as we said, are retarded. The people are retarded, and they will start saying other shit's holy too. I don't think there's any I don't know if there's any tradition of statues being holy I'm sure there's a lot of Christians. There's definitely not a tradition of toast being holy. Okay, there's definitely not a tradition of toast being holy. Okay, so holy toast, that's a new one. What I'm saying is that we are retarded, and the scope creep of holy objects starts going nuts, and people start putting this shit on eBay or praying over it, and it's just, I don't want to trap. I don't want to trap. Okay, it's the same reason I don't dig a really deep hole in my sheep pen, because I know the dumb sheep are going to fall in it. Like, I might. Sometimes holes are appropriate, right? But like, you got to build some guard around the hole. In other words, if you start imbuing objects with any sort of holy significance, let's say you're 100% right to do so. God is like, yeah, you do that. That water's holy as it could be now. You got to build a wall around that to say, like, other stuff, this is the holy stuff. Nothing else is holy, or something like that. Just straighten it out, right? Like, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm of the Church of Spider-Man's uncle. All right. So stupid. All right, cool. All right, so Benign, if you're still here, so this new I removed myself. I was the wrong thing to remove. All right. Dang, my hair looks nice. Shit. All right, anyways, the new format is the same format I suggested months and months ago. I'm being subtle about this. I'm trying to roll this out bit at a time. The format I wanted months ago is that somebody has responsibility for the talk. Everybody else is the student, and that presenter is the teacher. That way the conversation is gated to a certain amount. Because what we end up getting into is off tangents, and it just starts going way off the fucking rails. And there's nothing you can follow, including myself, who is like getting more and more inebriated as the show goes on. And I am desperately trying to cling on. Like, I'm a very drunk Sancho Panza on top of a slightly less drunk mule. Let's name it Bavieca for some reason. I'm on top of Bavieca here, and I'm just sort of lurching left and right, and I don't know where I'm going. So what we need is just to put a tether on Bavy, tie it to something that's solid, right? And that way we can actually have a fucking conversation, because we were kind of going around in crazy circles, and I wasn't liking it very much. I was like, we could do better. So I want to do this one solo first, just so I can get back in the saddle of presenting without somebody there. The propensity towards derailment is very high, especially when I'm presenting. I want to be a people pleaser, and I'm trying my best to please the audience, please the co-hosts. If it's just me here on my own, I don't have to please anybody, and I'm just trying to get to the subject, and I'm trying to work on getting better at that, and then I will start bringing people on again. Yep. Yeah, as I said, I think like a lot of the Vatican, when it's well, I don't know what the Vatican's doing. I'm not there. It seems like Vatican II and stuff is actually trying to like crack down on some of the third worldisms. You got to remember that the Catholic Church is also a human institution. I have a theory that the Catholic Church was instrumental towards keeping the peasantry under control. So there's a lot of vestiges of those old times. A lot of controlling behaviors, which are just not necessary now that things are moving along. Like, even Jesus only showed up when the people were ready, right? Like, spiritual truths show up when people are ready to hear them, right? Like, you're not going to see Bronze Age, early Jesus, because he would have just got murked immediately. It's the same reason why Jesus told the apostles not to go that far east, because they would have just gotten murdered in Myanmar or something like that, right? It wasn't a good place to go. Instead, they went to Europe, which is like where they knew all the barbarians were. Pretty ballsy. It turns out it was better than Asia, where all the hordes of like Mongols and stuff were, which would not have heard this out at all. Okay, the Mongols and the Mongoloids would not be ready for this sort of message until the Cossacks, and thank God, right? I just got to get faster at typing, or start just absolutely slapping it in the chat, just like no vowels, all misspelled. Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, I'm glad you understand. Thank you, Bedan. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so people are really only ready for truth when they get it. I think America works in a sequence. I don't think America makes mistakes. I think America goes and does experiments it has to go through to get to where it's going to go, right? Like, we had to do certain bad things that we say are bad. They're just steps along the way. If it facilitates us getting there, I think it's still true. So I don't judge churches on what they used to be. I don't judge people on what they used to be. Or I try to judge them on what they're doing now. And right now, the biggest ones of blame are the third worldists right now that I think I'm really pissed off at are the European right-wing paganists or e-Catholics, which are basically just paganists. They're just applying all the pagan shit to Catholicism. It doesn't matter. Like they're living back in like 1000 AD Catholic Church, like going Deus Vult and like, this Pope would not call a crusade against. This Pope probably wouldn't call a crusade against like cockroaches infesting the Vatican. I don't think a lot of popes are going to do anything like that. So they're appealing to a Catholic Church that has not existed for hundreds of years. It might as well be a pagan god to them because it's not something that exists now, right? They're pagan. Some people's pagan god is just the past. It's just nostalgia is their god. You know, the way things used to be. It's like all these Englishmen today think they're going to go back to, William the Conqueror England or something, or Richard the Lionhearted England. It's like, that's a long time ago. And the past is a foreign country. Even we couldn't even go back 100 years and like go back to like the bowler hats and the nice suits and stuff of London. You couldn't get young people to do that now. I don't think. And actually have the same work ethic as those Englanders. Like the past is a foreign country. Yeah. You can't capture the past. So these people, so to me, the people who worship the past are just a different type of pagan. Same thing, same pagan bullshit. And they're trying to do all of these different bargaining things. All right. They're trying to do all of these different bargaining things. It's like they're trying to make a transaction with the past. They got all these different runes and symbols and books and things. Like you have to read Evola to understand it. They have all these emotive virtues of like, listen, I'm a Roman helmet guy and I say the right words and I can say the line, Bart, it's like, I have a bunch of, I think a lot of Twitter personalities do this where it's like they have a rotation, a stable of different things they will say. And it's very predictable. There's almost no independent thought there. They're just saying the thing everyone wants them to say, like a wizard casting the spell people want them to say. Yeah, unallowed thoughts and speech. You see that when we've talked about creedal nations or talk about what is America, they lose their minds. Yeah, it's the same stuff. Yeah, and they absolutely have their anointed, purified ones. But by this anointed, purified ones is how you get your movement filled with mountebanks and scam artists. This is why the right movement got filled with. This is why the right was full of bullshit artists, and those bullshit artists all peeled off with the pagan sort of retard right. But they're all the same people. By the way, I consider Jack Posobiec to be one of these people. Like he's absolutely using Catholicism as a vehicle. A lot of people are. I think he's just a face and a name for the eCaths. But if you ever thought there's some kind of like inorganic movement with Catholicism online that is a controlled opposition demolition thing, I'd start looking at Posobiec and seeing who's paying him and what he's involved with. And you'll find him in the same crowd as Dugan, the Duganites mostly. I've not seen him in a while, but I think I might have just muted him. That might be why. Be a pretty good reason. All right. I'm going to chill here for a hot minute. Let the stream catch up, but otherwise I'm going to be heading out. Hope you enjoyed. It was about an hour and a half. I ate like 5 pounds of spaghetti before I got on here. And I've been kind of pre-gaming this since like 4 in the afternoon when I started cooking. So I'm not doing great. I want to nap so bad. I've got the meat sweats on. Jeez Louise. I'm a hot mess. So not in the best condition, but still made it an hour and a half. Got through it. Appreciate it. Everybody's watching. Hope you guys have a good one. And I will catch you later. All right. Bye.